everyone, welcome to chapter 228 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekend edition and I'm standing by my whiteboard and a pile of burl, and yeah, we're going to be turning tomorrow, but that's not what this video is about. So if you want to see what I did this last week, all you need to do is stay tuned. Yeah, it would be easy to turn this into another wood turning video, but we're going to turn some burls tomorrow. I've got a weekend class with the Hub City Turners and the Saskatchewan Woodworkers Guild. It'll be a wonderful time, and we're going to make some shavings out of some burl that I have here that I came by kind of with somewhat sad circumstances. So maybe someday I'll explain that, but not today. This last week, my good friend and electrical wizard came over and we completed some final connections that I've been missing for the last number of years to my lathe lighting, my routers, and my table saws. So I just thought I'd walk you through that and show you what we did. And yeah, this is electrical work. And one of the things, I pride myself on the fact that I'll tackle almost everything, but I won't do electrical. I think it's from when I used to be in business many years ago, and I never carried really any insurance, and I didn't want a house renovation that I did to burn down because of me experimenting with electrical work. So I just never did it. And I realized that of all the things that you can do in a building, getting that wrong can be a real problem. So I've always been fortunate. My neighbor just across the street and just a wee bit up the road has been in business for 40 years. And I was so impressed with the fact that I thought I had it all thought through. But when he got here, I would say, well, what would you do? And I got to capitalize on that 40 years of experience. So yeah, of course I'll have to pay him, and gladly I'll pay him. But if you're somebody that feels comfortable doing your own electrical, by all means, these are things that you can do. But I just thought I'd show you a few ways that I dealt with the fact that I didn't want any extension cords in my shop. So hang in there, I will get my handheld and we will go remote, and I'll show you the work that we did actually this last Monday. Okay, I'll be back. And here we go. Well, the first thing that we tackled is we took that box there, which controls the dust collector, and we moved it that way, about 7-8 inches. And the reason we did that is because I've really noticed with teaching my high school students here, we're running the dust collection a lot and it's loud. So I'm going to build this in, and I needed to leave enough space for a wall to come down there. Yeah, that electrical is still a bit of a mess, but that's more or less temporary because I've got two lathes plugged in, where in the planning of this shop, these lathes didn't exist. So that was the first thing we did. One of the really, really pleasant surprises about this, moving this box, when my neighbor opened it, there was no dust in there. And there were even a couple of holes where I forgot to put tape on when we did this. So I was really impressed. So we didn't have a dust-free fitting, so I made my own. Just took some foil tape and sealed the seams. That seems to work fairly well. I've done that. Those boxes up there aren't really the right boxes for doing what we did there, connecting conduit to and all that stuff. It should be more of a box like that, but we went with those and I taped them and they have been excellent. Okay, so that was the first thing. We moved that over so I can build a wall there. And then I'm just going to walk you over to the connections for my lathe. Now, I had done the 220, which is this one here. That's been hanging here for a while, probably a year and a half at least. But I realized one of the things I'm a little bit, I wish they'd have done it differently. This Laguna lathe has two 220 plug-ins there. I wish they were 110s. But I talked to my electrician, my electrical buddy, and he says that's a hard change. So he recommended me just doing something else. So what I did is, thank goodness my favorite store, Princess Auto, had power bars on sale this last week with longer cords on them. So I didn't want to have to run an extension cord to plug this in. So I terminated this cord at the same length here. They're about 6.5, no, they're about almost 7 feet off the ground, about 6'8", I think. So I can walk under them easily if they're unplugged. But anyway, I got a power bar, and that 110 plugs into that. See if you can see it. That power bar, and then my lights plug in. And it's a little inconvenient for plugging tools into, but I'm not sure if I'll change that yet, but it would just be moving it. This is the first place to install it, so we'll see how it works. So anyway, we did that. And see, this is one of those cases where my electrician buddy knows what he's doing. So we already had conduit running there, and I just assumed he'd have to find another 110 plug, and there's one right there, and follow the conduit and come with another piece of conduit and come out here. And he says, no, I don't need to do that. We'll just drill a hole in the side of the box that's there and run the wire in the conduit that's already there. So that saved me a lot of time. And if I would have done it on my own, I would have had extra time and extra expense. So thank you for that. And yeah, the lights have been working good. Okay, now we're gonna head over to, and you can kind of see my shop setup here. And yeah, with 10 lathes in here, it is full, but it works. And that's the surprising part. And I found another power bar because I took the one that I had hanging here and I used it over there. I'll show you that yet. But people will ask me, well, why do you need a power bar here above basically your table saw area? Well, when I have students in here, this is a flat surface. As you can see, we're starting to put an acoustic guitar together. And it's nice to have power here that kids can plug in tools, or maybe even me can plug in a tool and use it here. So this becomes extra workbench area, which is really nice. So that I put in today actually. And all I do is I plug them in and then I run the cord to where I want it and zip tie them on there. That way there's no weight on the plug-in. So yeah, but you can see that I wired quite extensively here. So we're going to talk a little bit about that after I show you the last thing that we did. Up until Monday, I had been running an extension cord along the floor and to that plug-in right there. That's a 220 outlet. And I don't like extension cords. So what I wanted my electrician friend to do is take conduit and extend it from that box and come out and put 110 and 220 power right there. That's directly above, where my dust collection is going to run, and this is where this is going to stay. So having the cords where they're supposed to be is, I think, a great idea. So the table saws, it was kind of interesting. My unisaw had a short cord on it, and my contractor saw had a long cord. So because the connection for the unisaw is down at that end, this has got a ways to go. So we just switched cords and they worked out. Well, I had to trim them a little bit, but it worked out beautifully. So I've got a 220 here, a 220 here, and the 110 powers the 3 routers. Okay, so remember, this is yellow cord coming into the power bar right here. And then we'll get those 220s out of the way. For this weekend, I have a circuit interrupter plugged in here for the lathes. But here's this plug-in is for that lathe there. The middle one is for the router. Oh, you can't see it. I got my fret radius and jig in the way. But for the far one, and this one is for this one here. And again, you know, just basic common sense, but I didn't have it apparently. My electrician buddy, I asked him, you know, how would you run this? And he said, well, and I hadn't planned this. He said, I just come from the plug in there and I'd run a power bar here and then I'd plug the routers in there. Now I had a Home Depot cord. I believe they're about 10 feet long. That's what these things were. And we would just mark where we needed them cut, and we'd custom make the cord, cut the excess off, and it all works out beautifully. The only problem we have is, and it's my fault, this cord, when I plugged it in, I decided to route it a little differently, and it's a little bit, it's pretty good. It's a little tighter than I thought we had it, but it's gonna work out just fine. So it's nice to have power to these routers. I'd been working on that for quite a while. So let's head around to one of the switches here, which is now wired. So remember, I showed you these switches in a previous video, and I made these I made the you know, cut a square or rectangle in here so that we could get this switch in. And but when my neighbor was wiring, he did the wiring in there. I wanted to get him to show me one, but then I realized, oh my goodness, that I still have more work and this isn't done. So I said, just go for it. And he's 10 times faster than I'd ever be. Now, the one thing I don't have here, oh, here I have it. I have to seal these boxes yet, and that's what this foil tape is gonna do, because I don't like holes like that. And like I said, these boxes were not designed for this, but I found that if you put that foil tape around them, they keep the dust out of the connections really well, which allows me to sleep better at night. Yes, you can buy these. When I look at shop supplies like this in Canada, the store that I end up looking at is Busy Bee. And they have a switched outlet like this. Actually, it's a switch, and then just above it is one outlet. And I think that retails for $50 Canadian. So it's not cheap. So I think I kind of maybe did better. I don't know if these are a lot cheaper or not, because I had a switch I had to buy, and then, well, these I had around here, and a cord, and then the box. But the way I probably saved a lot of money on this is I bought this stuff years ago. So let's see how it works. Standing here talking, and you just hit the switch. And I designed it so that I didn't have to reach over the plug to hit this, because I'm going to be standing about here, and I could just reach over and hit the switch. So that worked out super well. So that's what we got done. It didn't take long. I think if my neighbor would spend the time working here without me, he'd be done a lot faster. But we tend to visit a bit much. One of the future projects I have in mind yet is my electrical panel is not labeled well at all. So that's going to be a future project, and I'll show you how I do that. But just want to talk a little bit about general electrical. Like if you're building a shop, you know, when I built this and wired this, I thought I had everything covered. But you know what? Unless when you're building, you know exactly what equipment you're going to have in here, you know exactly what you're going to do in here. I don't think you can plan this perfectly. Like the ceiling, the way I get around running extension cords is to run electrical on the ceiling, which is something the school shop did, and it works quite well. Yeah, you've got cords going up, but it seems to be quite nice. Now the problem is I didn't always guess right. So here's a bunch of plugins. I believe there's two 220s and a 110. And that 220 plug right there will not get used in this equipment arrangement. So yeah, in the end I did waste a bit of money, because what I tried to do, where's a good example here? On the walls where there was a 110 plug, there's a good example. I tried to put a 220 plug close by. For example, right here. So there's 110 and there's 220. Here, let's open that up, yeah. And yeah, I'm gonna use this one with sander, but I have the same thing on the other side, and there'll be a 220 plug that I had planned for the bandsaws. That isn't gonna happen. So, you know, in the end, yes, I wasted a bit of money not knowing exactly what this shop was gonna do, but you know, if you're planning and you're building, you know, expect things to change. You're not always going to get to do things exactly, you know, things don't always go exactly the way you've planned. And I've been very happy with the way things have worked out here. So anyway, with that in mind, I think I'm going to put you back on the tripod and we're going to finish this video off. Well, that's what I got done, or I shouldn't say I got done. My electrician friend and I got done last week. We really only worked on it Monday. Anyway, I forget. We worked on it a couple of Mondays, but one wasn't really a full day. And planning and organizing takes more time than actually doing the work. So I really, really want to thank my neighbor for coming and being willing to work with me and do things. I have crazy ideas sometimes, but I'm sure he laughs when he gets home, but he doesn't laugh in front of me, which I appreciate. So yeah, that's the wiring. I think now is more or less complete. I have power to everything in a proper form. We don't want any cords on the floor, no extension cords, and everything sealed for dust. So I think now, all I know, I have one drop cord to shorten yet and a little odds and ends. But my focus now, and I'm going to do the panel yet too, sorry. But my focus now is going to switch to installing more dust collection. I want more or less this dust collection finished by the time I start classes in fall again. That would be a good goal. The dust collection, having it finished means having it installed. But I suspect I'm going to have to tweak a few things to get it to work better. So that's something coming up. And I'm hoping that on Monday, I'm going to start knocking down my 3/4 inch pre-finished bird sheets for cabinet gable ends and start getting that underway, because I've got a set of cabinets I need to get done. And then summer's coming along and I've got 2 outdoor projects that need to happen as well. So I'm going to be busy, which is great. I'd rather have that than nothing to do. So with that in mind, that concludes the weekend edition. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Get make it so I have to panic to get that guitar done on time for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. That would be good. But anyway, like I said, that's the end of the weekend edition. We'll see you somewhere middle of next week, and have a great weekend, everyone.